Hello, everyone, and welcome to the A.N.I.M.E podcast. My name is Eddie.
My name is A.N.I.M.E.
And my name is Whimsy.
And this is our podcast about, what would you guess, anime.
A.N.I.M.E.
I know it's very
I
surprising.
think I'm in the wrong place.
Oh, I know, I'm in the wrong place. I was meant to be at the Yu-Gi-Oh! Competition next door.
Okay, I'm gonna tell that story at some point. You can't steal that story from me.
I don't know, I just walked into this booth.
Hey!
And this
No.
recording
I was excited
an
to tell that
anime
story.
podcast. In here, I had to go compete in a Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournament. I can't be here.
As long as you don't end up in the Shadow Realm, I think that is a better use of your time than a podcast about A.N.I.M.E.
Eddie lives in the Shadow Realm. What are you talking about? The Shadow Realm?
Shadow Rem?
He lives in the Shadow Realm. I don't know what that means, but
What does that mean?
I don't know, but I can't talk today. Apparently.
Like, what does that mean? What in your mind?
Hello, welcome to episode 1 of a podcast. I can't speak. This is a problem, but welcome anyway.
Honey, do you know what the Shadow Realm is?
I know what the Shadow Realm is. I said Shadow Realm.
Have you seen Yu-Gi-Oh?
I was commenting on my inability to pronounce words.
Have you seen? I'm asking you. Have you seen Yu-Gi-Oh?
Not really.
Well, you haven't
We'll
seen
get into
Yu-Gi-Oh?
that though, like
are
my
you
lack
talking
of
about?
anime. Okay, you
Like,
are getting way ahead of
As
yourself.
far as I know, everyone who ever started watching anime watched one episode of Yu-Gi-Oh. So it's really surprising to me.
I'm sure I've seen clips of Yu-Gi-Oh because you watch Yu-Gi-Oh.
But I haven't watched it.
But
like,
I've never
in front
sat-
of you.
Yes, you watched it around me. I've never sat through like an episode, or you showed me like YouTube clips or something. I've definitely seen clips of Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh, what you're remembering is that time that I showed you that Kaiba was attacked by those people with guns, and then he killed one of them, and they cut that in the English release.
I see. We have already derailed.
No, this is the podcast.
You're right. The podcast is one big derailment. Okay.
Yeah.
Back to the script.
So Whimsy, the fact of the matter is, you've seen Yu-Gi-Oh! Because every weeb has seen Yu-Gi-Oh!
You're right. Don't tell the audience.
I think they already know.
That I haven't seen Yu-Gi-Oh! They'll come for me with pitchforks and knives.
I hope they do.
I have watched every anime known to man.
Except Yu-Gi-Oh!
If you go on Mal, I've watched it all. Every single one.
I feel like there is some actual person out there who is trying to go for 100% completion on having reviewed every single animation project in existence.
Do they like speed up the video? Like they try to watch it?
They have like an entire like computer like setup of like 16 different screens, and they're all at like 24 times speed. I feel like that is actually a nightmare scenario.
This sounds
There's
terrifying.
no way you can enjoy it at that point.
This sounds really Are they on IV drip? And
They're in a chair
and a
they
catheter?
have an IV drip, and they're just their eyes are like held open by an apparatus. I hate this. I don't like. That is horrifying.
This is already cursed. This is episode 1.
Well, this is
Thanks.
we're getting close to Halloween, so this makes sense, right?
Right. So,
Okay,
what
so-
are we actually here to talk about today?
Yeah.
Let's figure that one out.
What are we here to talk about?
Did you forget?
What was the topic?
You're supposed to go
What's
first.
the
So
topic?
if you don't know, you're supposed to.
Oh, am I going first?
Yes. You're
Yeah,
the
actually,
leader.
let's not tell him what the topic is. Let's see if he can figure it out. Let's just let him go.
What's the topic? No, it's not Halloween. That's for later.
That's for later.
What is the topic?
I don't know, honey.
What is the
it?
topic?
So professional.
What is okay? It's very professional for you to not tell me the topic so I can talk about
Because
it.
because you're a professional that knows what the topic is.
Exactly. Am I supposed to enable your lack of professionalism?
I feel like this isn't a lack of professionalism. I just don't know what the topic
You're
is.
terrible. You're canceled
This
already.
is why we should just have like the notes open on a window.
Do you really not know? Do you,
Okay, this is not helping.
do you really not know?
I see everything here. I see a lot of. I see SpaghettiOs. I don't even know what this is about.
Yeah, we're gonna have a podcast episode specifically about spaghetti.
About spaghetti.
My favorite anime.
Is that our sponsor? Is that the sponsor?
Okay.
Are we allowed to talk about sponsors?
Do you really not know what you're supposed to talk about right now? Is that like a thing? Or are you just memeing?
What is the topic? It's not. This isn't
We are
helping.
each supposed to introduce ourselves, kind of like help the audience get to know us.
Okay.
We are each supposed to talk about our own anime journey and like how we got into anime.
Oh, okay.
You good now?
Yes.
You got this?
Thank you for clarifying that. Like 15 minutes later. Actually, like it was like 5 minutes because we're not that far in now.
Okay.
Okay.
And now the audience knows what we're going to be talking about.
So maybe
this
now
is
we
totally to script, right?
This is totally on the script.
Yeah, every word of this was scripted.
Yeah, I'm sorry if that ruins the illusion for you. Like maybe we should have kept that like professional wrestling thing going on.
We just
where it's
broke
like,
the fourth
you're
wall.
not sure if everything is scripted or if everything is really off script.
Well, now they're not sure because we don't sound very sarcastic right now. Now they're wondering.
Now they're really thinking. About
Was this all scripted?
Was it?
Are we just like professional actors?
I don't know.
We're really good at seeming like we're improvising?
I think so.
Or are we improvising?
How many walls have we broken at this point?
All of them, I hope.
Every wall.
Every wall. I'm just gonna say right now, no matter how successful this podcast becomes, I will not be mauled by a bear
What?
in order to win any awards. It is not on my list of
Oh my
things to
god,
do.
Okay. As much as The Revenant is
I
a
don't
great
understand
anime,
this reference. Is this like a Poon reference or something?
this is a reference to a live action movie. Just do your thing. Now you know what we're talking about. Do your thing. All right?
Okay. And I'm doing the thing.
You are doing the thing.
now.
Do it.
Let's do it!
That is a good point that no one has ever, that hasn't even like led into before. What was the first anime I watched? Oh my god, wait, is it?
You didn't
I think
come
the
prepared.
first anime I ever watched was Bleach. Yeah, I think I was waiting for the new episode of Samurai Jack to show on Cartoon Network. And then instead, for some reason, I guess like must have been delayed or for whatever reason they changed time slots because I went to watch Samurai Jack as I did a lot during my childhood, and an episode of Bleach came on, and I was just flabbergasted because I was just like, "What the hell is this?"
Do you remember what the episode was?
I think it was the episode in which Ichigo meets one of the main cast for the first time. What was the name of that one character? It was the first Quincy that appears in the show.
Oh, Uryu?
Uryu? Yeah, I think it was Uryu. Yeah, because I remember they got into this whole, like, argument. I'm not even sure about what. It's been so long since I've seen anything from Bleach. But they got into some
I think they argue about, like killing, like, you know, like, completely destroying the souls of, like, the hollows versus, you know, letting them rest or something.
Oh yeah, I think that's what it was. And that was before or after that whole arc where they like talked about the hollows a bit more. And then they had that situation where like one of the hollows was the brother of one of the main cast. Wasn't it Orihime's brother that was a hollow? And there was this whole like thing where they went through and he like actually just found peace instead of them having to destroy him.
Yeah.
It must have been immediately after that.
I think that happens before because I think that's like part of like Orihime's like introduction as like a main cast member.
Yeah, I think you're right. That definitely makes sense. So yeah, that would be the first actual anime that I had seen. Now I'm distinguishing that because I had seen other, animated shows before that, but that was the first time I sat there and witnessed anime. Because, I mean, like, okay, so from everyone's definition here, when you watched Pokemon as a kid, would you consider that an anime?
Yes, but it's not always a gateway anime.
That's what I mean, because I didn't start watching anime after that. It wasn't until I actually watched Bleach on that day, specifically, that I then kept watching, and then also, had seen other things like Inuyasha. And actually, one of my favorites too from that period of like early anime watching was also another show called Kekaishi, I think it was called. And that one was I really enjoyed that one.
Just a quick thing, I want to clarify. Pokemon isn't necessarily a gateway. It obviously can be.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of people watch Pokemon, but they didn't go on to watch anime.
It's a sort of like Saturday afternoon cartoon thing, I think.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. You know what I mean? Because I watched things like that. Like, I watched other animated shows at the time when I was that young, but not all of them were anime. You know, I watched Pokemon. I watched some of Yu-Gi-Oh! When it came out. Right? And then I would watch other, cartoon shows like Super Robot Monkey Team, Hyperforce Go.
Super Robot Monkey Team, Hyperforce Go!
Super Robot Monkey Team,
Super Robot Monkey
Hyperforce
Team,
Go!
Hyperforce Go!
And I watched some of Power Rangers, but it's like, if you don't know anything about like the actual localization process for Power Rangers and how it came to the West, it is almost entirely a different product. And there are actually a lot of people who I know who watch one part of that series, like the entire localized English series, versus the other. And sometimes when people watch, either adaptation, whether Japanese or English, it is like two completely different things. Like, they took some parts of different seasons for one of the English adapted seasons of Power Rangers, and it's like two completely different shows. It's like mind-boggling how they got that and how it's still somewhat successful.
Interesting.
So I think that's what I would be. But I don't know if Bleach would be, in my mind, like the idea of a really good gateway anime. Because like it doesn't really stick in my mind as like, it sticks in my mind as like, this is the show that made me curious about what other anime shows are like, but it wasn't the most memorable. Like, as you can tell immediately, I couldn't remember really anyone else's names in Bleach. Like, it was almost immediate. Like, not a lot of the members of the Bleach character cast are very memorable. Like, off the top of my head, Ichigo, Chad.
Wait, is there really a guy named Chad?
There's a guy named Chad, and he's Mexican, and he has ghost fists. He's very cool. There is, let's see, who else? Kenpachi.
We're getting your ship.
Wait, what?
Rukia.
Oh, okay.
See, now they're starting to come back to me. I don't know if I remember any other ones than that. And I feel like that's just a point to which, like, there's a lot of characters in Bleach as far as I remember, and not a lot of them were very memorable. I would have to say probably the first time I watched an anime and it really stuck was probably when I watched I think Soul Eater. And I think that's part of the reason why Soul Eater is such a really great gateway anime. Like, a lot of the characters are really memorable. It's a really like standardized type of story where the main character like goes through different levels of development and then comes out to the end and fights like the big villain. And I actually really like a lot of the characters still from Soul Eater. And it's interesting in that sense too, because there was a lot of development they missed out in comparison to like the manga. But the anime adaptation, as far as I know, still now is like seen as like really, it's still really enjoyable. It's something people who have watched it will want to watch again, even knowing that the ending is one of those, stop gaps that they created because the manga was still being written when the anime ended, and they didn't really know what to do, so they kind of just created their own thing to end the series with. And actually, that makes me curious. Like, what are the other types of animes that you all would consider like to be the first show you watched, if not like the anime that got you into the anime genre?
Yeah, so for me, like, my first like animes are like Pokemon, Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Sailor Moon. I think like those are main ones. I think as far as like the one that most likely got me closest to like getting into anime would be maybe more Yu-Gi-Oh than any of the others, just because like I was super into card games and stuff like that, and I think it did give me awareness of like anime, but I think If I were to point to like of like those earlier series, I think Card Capture Sakura, or Card Captures as it was called, when aired in the US, was a really big one for me. Really liked the show, and I really um, ended up searching out like the manga in the end. I didn't really know it was the manga at the time, that it was like from Japan or whatever. And I would actually like read that, and because I really liked that, it led for me to like look for other things from the creator of Card Capture Sakura, which led me to read a lot of other series from them. I actually recall that relatedly, the I got a some sort of promotion in the mail from Del Rey, which was a manga releaser, and I believe they worked with Kodansha, and they were doing a promotion for getting volumes of Tsubasa, and you could get like the first 2 volumes, and then you could continue to get more volumes in the mail. And I believe that one of the things that really got me interested in that specific offer was like, oh, that's from the creators of Card Capture Sakura. And so I did pick that up, and then that was another one that really helped me like kind of get into more of like the manga side of things, because then I kept reading those and really enjoying that. Um, and then I'm gonna just kind of keep talking for a bit. Uh, Other kind of like gateway moments, I would say, were I used to watch Toonami, so like Toonami, they had shows like Sailor Moon and stuff like that, but I wasn't necessarily always watching it. I stopped for a while, and I ended up coming back to it. I was at someone's house, and I ended up watching part of Yu Yu Hakusho and Rurouni Kenshin, and I really enjoyed that. And I ended up like after going home, I started to pretty religiously watch Toonami and continued to watch it. Um, and then I'll say like I really kind of never fell off that bandwagon of kind of like anime. But I'd say like as far as like an obsessed anime as really like considering it as an anime, I think like my first would most likely be like Naruto, where I was like really like, oh my goodness, what's gonna happen, and like looking for like mangas online. So I had like several different gateway anime, I'd say. Like Naruto most likely would have been like the latest of what I would consider maybe the gateways that I had, beyond like, ones that might be for a specific service. But like at that point, I really understood what the concept of anime, Yu Yu Hakusho and Rurouni Kenshin helped me like stay in anime without really, I guess, thinking about it too much as anime. I'm more thinking about it at that time as like a action block more than like an anime block. And then Card Captures was a big one for me to like get into manga and to get into also like kind of thinking about things within the perspective of this is a specific creator, and I want to pursue the work of a specific creator in that aspect. And then of course Yu Yu Hakusho, Yu-Gi-Oh was a big one for just getting me into like thinking about things outside of anime, like cards and like merchandise and those kind of things. I think Pokemon also did that a bit as well in Digimon. But yeah, so I had various entry points. I'd also say even Shaman King manga was a entry when Borders did a promotion of like, I think it was like buy free get one free, and I got like Shaman King, Yu Yu Hakusho, and a couple of other mangas. But like Shaman King was the first I read, and I really liked that. That's a really long story. I have a lot of entries, I guess.
At what point did you look at yourself in the mirror and go, yeah, I'm a filthy weeb?
I think like Naruto was most likely the main one that like made me feel that way. I think Yu-Gi-Oh to some extent. Huh?
How did I know?
I basically said that earlier.
Oh,
that's one
sorry.
aspect. But like I think Naruto because like it was pretty popular at the time. I remember like at the summer camp I'd go to, like people would do like the jujutsu signs with their hands and stuff like that, and it's kind of like felt like its own language in terms of like how people were talking and enjoying things. So I think that like really was like important in that regard. But I'd also say like I think Yu-Gi-Oh also was a big like weeb one as well for me, just because I think also like again it's like that presence of other people and kind of feeling like wow we're kind of not necessarily the norm in what we're doing. Like so many people having their Yu-Gi-Oh cards out and like playing those like with like Pokemon and even Digimon. Like I think they just bordered so much on like mainstream. It didn't really come across, and Yu-Gi-Oh was pretty mainstream. But I think like the card game had it was too weeb to not like feel weeb, I guess. um, and that is something that I didn't really even think about it until now. But yeah, it's like there are some things that I feel like you can get away with, like Pokemon, like, oh yeah, I watched this show and like not really think about it as like anime or like particularly geeky or nerdy or whatever. But like I think Yu-Gi-Oh card games is like kind of pushing that line of like, yeah, you're a weeb.
I was just wondering. At what point were you like, I'm deep in this?
I think I would agree with that. I'd say right on the time that I was in middle school and Naruto was becoming really popular is right around the time that I centered that idea that like I was a weeb. And I would, it's
Know
funny is
you're a
that
weeb when you start doing the Naruto run.
yeah, when you start to do the Naruto, because I definitely remember that like cultural thing that happened over time that like you would start to see kids doing the Naruto run. You would start to see kids doing the ninjutsu hand signs. And I feel that's probably like the point at which it may have just been an age thing or it may have just been like right around the time that anime started really noticing that boom in the US. Because it was more like I used to just watch Naruto, Bleach, Yu-Gi-Oh, like the later parts of Yu-Gi-Oh, um, on TV as a kid, and then suddenly all of my friends, knew about Yu-Gi-Oh. Suddenly all of my friends knew about Naruto, and it was like this huge like difference because it went from everyone watching general cartoons like I would at the time I would probably say like the Batman Beyond animated series, um, Pokemon.
It's so interesting to hear that for you guys, the things that really solidified you being a weeb is sort of like almost what was popular in like the community, like it being more community centered. Because I feel like that's just so different than the narrative of anime fans like pre 1990s. It was very much an isolated, like personal thing. I'm sure there were internet communities around it, but the idea of like school kids all sharing Naruto or playing with Pokemon cards or not or Yu-Gi-Oh cards is just such a new phenomenon to I think you're like our generation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because like as far as like Pokemon goes, I remember in like in after school programs, people would play like the video games of Pokemon, and I was like all the older kids would have it, and it's like, oh my goodness, you're so cool, you've got the Pokemon game, but somehow like I feel like there's something about Pokemon that I feel like, yeah, it's just so mainstream in a sense that it never feels weeb enough to really like define as like a weeb moment, I guess.
I was gonna.
Um,
Oh, sorry.
go on.
I was gonna ask you about that because I found it really interesting when you said that one of the moments where you were like, "Oh yeah, I'm a weeb," is when you were playing Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Because I was thinking about how it's interesting that Yu-Gi-Oh is so different in that way than Pokemon because everyone traded Pokemon cards for a certain phase of time, but they weren't all necessarily into anime or like were otaku or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's just really interesting how mainstream Pokemon makes it such a different thing. Do you think there's anything else like distinctly about Yu-Gi-Oh specifically that makes it just inherently like weebier than Pokemon cards?
I definitely feel like oh, go Eddie, you go.
I was just going to say that like in my mind, what would probably differentiate that is that like as far as I know, a lot of when I was a lot younger, everyone had Pokemon cards, right? Everyone played with Pokemon cards. A lot of my family members also, when they were young, around the same age, had Pokemon cards or played the Pokemon games. As far as I know, not many of them still consume those same products. Not many of them still have any interest in Pokemon or any other anime in general. And the very few that do played Yu-Gi-Oh when they were older, like I'd say right around the same period that I described as like that middle school, high school age. When you're playing with Yu-Gi-Oh cards at that point, you're stuck. That's it. You're done.
You'll never escape.
You'll never escape the weeb realm.
You enter the shadow realm at that point.
At that point, because I feel like when you play with Pokemon as a kid, right? It's just like a thing that you enjoy. When you're playing with Yu-Gi-Oh cards as like right around that like teen age, you're playing with other people, right? You're buying Yu-Gi-Oh cards. You're probably consuming the Yu-Gi-Oh anime. You're around a lot of other people who watch Yu-Gi-Oh, yeah, but they also watch other shows that are really popular at that time, like Naruto, right? And what's really funny is that I remember Naruto also had a trading card game, but people collected it more to like have a physical like item for the characters they like. Like I always remember that one of my friends who really liked Guy Sensei, he would collect all the Guy Sensei cards from the Naruto trading card game, even though he didn't play it at all.
I think that it's interesting because I think like when I look at like the Pokemon card game, I never played it. I did collect the cards for a bit. For me, if I think that like the Pokemon cards and like Pokemon figurines, they were more like swag. They weren't main event in themselves. You collected it because you liked the TV show. And like that's not to say that like you don't it's not to say that you get Yu-Gi-Oh cards in spite of the TV show. That's not really what I'm saying. But it's something that grew to a point where it's its own beast, I suppose. I also think like even if you're thinking in terms of like the Yu-Gi-Oh TV show, I think Yu-Gi-Oh definitely more than Pokemon, but maybe even arguably more than Digimon. I think it really wanted to feel more not for kids. I think Digimon kind of like had ideas that were, a lot harsher than like Pokemon, but I think that it tried to still be pretty much a kid show, but like yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh just like took itself super seriously in a way that I think Pokemon didn't, and in a way that I think like would really turn off some people, to be honest. And it's it's maybe the most anime of those free shows, if you know what you're looking for.
So like, are you kind of saying, because this is interesting, are you kind of saying that what makes a gateway, well, okay, something being a gateway, obviously it needs to be accessible, but at the same time, it's more likely to truly get you into anime if there's sort of a barrier to entry that you pass. Like, if there's no barrier to entry and it's just something that, like, the general public can like, then it can just be a show, even if it is a Japanese anime. But if it's something that's off-putting to, like, say, like, an American audience generally, but you get past that and you kind of get used to it and used to the different, like, cultural differences and stylistic differences, and you still like it and get into it, you're more likely to get into anime? Would that be fair to say?
I think so. Like, I think there's a big difference between, like, what we would see as, like, something that's similar to a Western animation versus like a Japanese animation. And a lot of it actually comes down to, I think, like what we can see the audience as being. I didn't really think about this before, but Western animation has this annoying habit to be like, okay, it's like when you reach like 13 or so, it's not cool to watch animated shows anymore. It's like the storytelling benefits for you are most likely done unless you're watching like something like Family Guy or like The Simpsons, or a lot of like those animated comedy shows that are like intended for an older audience. I think what shows like Naruto and I think to a lesser extent Yu-Gi-Oh, but like definitely like Naruto and Bleach and stuff like that. What they say to an audience, a Western audience, is no, it is fine to still like animation. There's still so much that this medium can do for you, but you need to accept um or go against that Western norm that like animation kind of has like a focus only for children or like young children. And if you can get past that and kind of see that like potential of storytelling and like kind of go into like the wacky directions that like Japanese animation tends to go, then I think that you're able to get a lot farther than a lot of other people in terms of anime.
Makes sense. So basically, the kid who when their parents walks in the room and goes, "Are you still watching cartoons?" and cares, doesn't become a weeb, but the kid who's like, "Yes," and I am proud, they become the weeb.
I'm scared of that person.
Actually, my dad actually did come once when I was watching Avatar: The Last Airbender. This is because I was in college and I was home for the break, so I'm an adult. And he's like, "You're watching cartoons?" And I just looked at him and I'm just like, "This is good stuff." Okay? You don't know what you're missing.
Avatar: The Last Airbender is not a cartoon for children.
I mean, it is intended, like, it aired on Nicktoons. It is for children, but it's for all ages, I would say. But that's like a whole other can of worms.
I'm sorry, Avatar: The Last Airbender is not an anime.
Gasp! Blasphemy! Such a narrow definition. That's a whole other argument in itself.
Actually, I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
a lot of people...
let's save it for another time.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I would feel more like a lot of the shows that came out probably on Nicktoons and Cartoon Network that weren't anime were right on that precipice of like Western animation that kind of took some things from anime, kind of leaned people in that direction already.
Just from the outside looking in, because I didn't watch a lot of Cartoon Network, but Cartoon Network felt way more anime to me than any other network.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Because like even before that Toonami really became... Oh, sorry. Even before Toonami...
There you go.
Thank you. I will continue now in an orderly manner from this point on.
Come on, guys. We can't hand a talking stick when we're in different states. I mean, Eddie and I can share a talking stick, but
to Eddie. Come on, Sean. No whimsy. No talking over Eddie. He has.
Yeah, that was me. Okay. Fine. Finish your thought.
Right around the time that I would say Toonami became really popular and everyone knew what Toonami was at the point at which I noticed that everyone had stopped watching a lot of these shows on general like Saturday morning cartoon type things and we're just watching it on reruns nightly when it was available. And I feel like that was probably the biggest shift, especially for my watching habits with anime. Because once I realized that they were going to have Toonami at more than just this one specific time slot, I feel like I consumed a lot more anime after that point. Hey everybody, and we're just going to go to a quick commercial break because some messed up stuff is happening on the podcast.
Yay!
See ya!
Are you tired of sports animes with all their sportsing? Well, I've got the anime for you. Smile Down the Runway. The sports anime without the sports. So, it was interesting, Whimsy, and also Eddie, like in terms of like the shows that were coming out in places like Cartoon Network, not just being anime, but also like very anime inspired. So, Avatar obviously being a prime example, but I think even more of an example, especially because of like the channel that I was on and stuff like that, was Teen Titans. And I think like those kind of shows like Teen Titans, I think another one might have been like Megas XLR, Jackie Chan. Those were shows that like they took a lot still from like Western animation, but they threw in a lot of things that were a lot more anime-esque in terms of their action, in terms of some of their seriousness, in terms of the unexpected directions in terms of like a Western animation perspective or storytelling perspective that they might go. And as you start being able to accept those ideas of where those stories can go, that otherwise might have seemed very bizarre, I think accepting some things that you would see in anime become a lot easier. Like I think watching a show like Teen Titans most likely makes watching a show like Naruto most likely a lot easier to not roll your eyes at, as maybe other people might have done. As you know, there's things that are very heavy-handed in Naruto. There are things that just kind of seem very odd in terms of like the world and stuff like that. But if you are able to get past like kind of some of like those scratchy head moments, then it can be a really interesting gateway. I don't know how it is as like a gateway today, but at least back then, it was. I would think that it was most likely one of the best gateways, considering the environment that American audiences were in terms of media consumption.
I would agree with. I mean, even though didn't grow up watching Naruto, it wasn't my gateway. Just from what you guys have said and like things I've heard, I would agree with that for that generation then. But I think like age is a huge factor. I think nowadays, unless you were specifically trying to get like a kid into anime, Naruto would probably never be like a gateway for someone older, because now there's this whole generation of weebs. It's a lot more common. This whole generation of otaku who can then be like, hey, I have this recommendation. And the recommendation would probably be something for like older audiences. So I think it's interesting to think about too how age factors into this. Because like I would never show somebody my age Naruto as a gateway. We actually are watching Naruto together, but this is somebody who's already into anime and already has that sort of tolerance for believe it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, the idea of I know, Whimsy, we haven't talked about your gateway yet, but
No rush.
I think it is very interesting, the idea of like the age when in terms of like what is your gateway. Like I think like for example, Monster is a really good gateway for most likely like an older audience person. I watched Monster with my mom, and I guess it didn't really like make her like super into anime, but like she's not a big anime person and she quite enjoyed it. So it was something that was able to at least speak to her as like someone. I think when we watched it, she was late 50s maybe. Like she enjoyed it. And like that was able to speak to her, where I'm guessing that a show like actually she put up with Naruto. Oh, I don't know. She's not a good example. But I don't know. Like I think like Sword Art Online was a good gateway anime. It seems like for a lot of people. But most likely it's better for someone that's like a teenager than someone that's like in their 20s or 30s or whatever. Maybe for that, I'd recommend more Attack on Titan if we're like kind of going with that same time period or something like that.
Yeah, I feel like because of the thing you talked about, where there is just such a stigma in the West against cartoons, if you're trying to introduce an adult or even like a young adult into anime and they're fresh and it's a brand new gateway, you almost have to go with something incredibly mature, because to sort of like counter that insecurity of wait, what does it mean about me if I'm watching cartoons? And obviously not everyone is insecure. I'm sure your mom didn't have that insecurity, but like I feel like your safest bet is to choose a gateway that they'll immediately recognize as, wow, this is not a cartoon. Like Monster is definitely going to appeal to a lot of, I say, Americans, because we're obsessed with like serial killers and crime, and it very much feels like somebody who watches CSI or Criminal Minds like would watch and would like. So I feel like sometimes the best gateways are the things that are more, I mean this is obvious, but the things that are more in the comfort zone, and then you can branch out of the comfort zone. I definitely think that age is where that's most important, like people who are older.
Yeah, I think another interesting piece for a show like Monster, especially as like for an older audience, is that it's also It's also, I don't know when it came out, if this was the case, but I think it was still then. It is a period piece. Um, because I believe, when does it take? Or maybe it's not really a period piece, but they rely a lot on like Cold War history or storytelling, or at least for a lot of the backstory. And I think that makes it grounded in a way that you wouldn't expect for any sort of animated show and things like that. And if you're talking about someone that's like 50s or 60s or something like that, you're talking about people that actually lived through the Cold War. So like you're seeing people that seen these events, and it might honestly be very interesting for them to see how things played out in a different setting, with the kind of the Central European setting that's going on. I am a history nerd, so maybe I'd find that a lot more interesting than a lot of other people. But I think, like, for example, if someone did something, there's actually a show that comes to mind that kind of did, or two, that does something kind of more around like terrorism and like like the 2000s like fear around terrorism, which was very defining about that time. I'd be very interested because there's a historical context that I have the events that I saw. I feel like that's something that a
Americans,
lot
the
of
best way to hook
older
them
audiences
is
could
serial
get.
killers, terrorism, and violence.
Wait, serial killers? What?
Well, because we were talking about monsters and now you're talking about terrorism. I was just saying,
Okay,
the best way
okay.
to hook an American: serial killers, terrorism, violence.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like that is stuff that we are more comfortable with. In terms of like storytelling, we are a lot more numb to violence compared to a lot of other things because of our media. So.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of familiar to us, like those sort of settings and themes and topics. We're very used to them in our Western media.
Yeah, Whimsy. So, talk about you.
Okay,
Start talking about yourself.
okay.
Yeah,
Well,
for an anime
I
fan.
enjoy walks on the beach.
What anime character?
I am secretly an alien. Yes, I am secretly an anime. Okay.
But which anime are you?
I haven't even watched this anime, but just based on the intro, that you know the one
Which one?
with like the
You listened to anime openings yesterday. Which anime opening are
Okay,
you?
this is all derailed. Let me start over.
Wait, I want to hear the answer to this.
It's that one you showed me. It's the one with
Yes.
the alligator people.
With the alligator people?
Yeah.
Whoa.
What's the alligator people?
That chick resonated with me. I mean, I don't have like cockroaches in my house, but like everything else.
Wait, which show are you talking about?
I don't know.
That does not help me. There's an alligator man and there's cockroaches?
It's like she was like blonde and she had like her like belly was out and she was just like cooking and her house was messy and she looked really happy and really like messy and unorganized.
What are you talking
She's
about?
an alligator?
Is she an alligator?
And there was an alligator person.
There's an alligator person?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Hold on.
Are you okay?
Break. I need to fill up my water. Hold on.
Cool. So pregnant alligator woman.
Pregnant
Anime.
alligator woman cooking in a messy house. I have to say, I don't think I've ever watched this anime. Wait a second.
Me neither.
Honey. Oh my god. I think she's talking about Dororo.
Wait, what?
It's a Dorohedoro.
Yeah, that's the one by the Astro Boy guy, right?
Oh no, that's Dororo. This is Doro.
Are you sure you're not confusing it with Dorara?
It's not Durarara. It's
Are we doing this again? Are we doing this
Are we
to
just
roll?
gonna do this bit every time?
As long as it comes up naturally, why not? As long as it's not forced. Hold on. I need to drink some water. I'll cut some of this out.
It's this one, right, honey? Dorohedoro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I resonate with that lady. She was
Okay.
cool. She seemed cool, but I've only ever seen the opening.
Wait, I'm confused. So she resonated with you because she had her belly out and she was messy?
Well, because she just seemed like like a chill person who doesn't quite have her life together. She just seemed like a millennial, like, honestly.
Is that why?
Only a millennial would live with, like, a spiked alligator man. Like, obviously.
Yeah, I would totally live with one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
anyone who wouldn't, that's when we say, okay, boomer,
puppy,
you know?
That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I feel like that's the most important part.
What'd you say?
About
No?
roommating with a lot of people is that they don't eat your puppy.
That's true. That's true. That's like number one roommate requirement. Okay, I'll actually do my thing now. Hold on, once I get myself together.
You're messy,
My goodness.
honey. You're
See,
messy.
this is why I identify with the lady.
Where's the alligator man?
You are. I guess you're the alligator man.
Am I the alligator man?
I mean, I live with you.
Is the alligator man a good guy?
No.
Okay.
I don't even know. Again,
No.
this is not a good introduction to my anime journey because I've never seen this anime.
So let me get this straight. You identify with an anime opening for a show you haven't watched.
You just asked me if I was an anime, which one would I be, and that was the first one that popped into my head. Because I wasn't trying to think of like what anime do I like. I was trying to think of what anime might convey my personality, but I don't even know if that's true.
Okay, we'll pick a better one.
That's not the prompt though. Let me actually answer the prompt.
Okay.
And describe my anime journey.
Please.
Now I have to use the bathroom, so we're gonna have to wait. Hold on.
Out to our commercial break.
Sorry. Once I get back, we'll get going.
This is a transition for us to talk about toilet-bound Hanako-kun.
Be right back.
So, I have not seen Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, but please tell us more.
It is super adorable. I think, like, actually, honestly, Toilet Bound Hanako-kun is a good example of an anime that, like, I looked at, like, the screenshots of it, and I was like, wow, it looks so cutesy. I don't know if I want to pick it up, because it just, like, looks so out there. But I picked it up, and it was super cute and super wonderful. And cute is not a bad thing, which, you know, I should know that, but, like, I'm used to a lot more action-y kind of things. But I think, like, that kind of impression is a thing that a lot of people will get. Like, they'll look at, like, the animation of a show, and they'll make judgments about it. They'll be like, oh, it's not for me. Oh, it's not going to be interesting, that kind of thing. I think that saying that you're an anime fan is a very strange statement, because it's basically saying that you're a fan of a medium of storytelling coming from a certain country. It's not that you're a fan of a genre. You're a fan of a medium. It's kind of like it kind of expresses, like, unless you're like, oh, I'm not just gonna watch shonen, it express, like, often a willingness to try a lot of different storytelling avenues and actually consume it and watch it and appreciate it. I think that's really cool. You know, we can unpack the Japanese aspect and, like, what that introduces in terms of a storytelling thing. But if you say that you're a fan of anime, you're not saying that you're a fan of a genre, you're saying a medium, which is far different than I think a lot of people in the West will often do in terms of describing their interests in terms of television and movies.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because I feel like for most people who don't watch a lot of anime, if not the people who are aware of anime, but watch other, you know, types of media, the anime genre in itself is described by, like, I guess the things that you would identify as, like, very stereotypical, and that's it. You know, like, as terms of, like, the types of stories or the types of characters in them, I feel like it's usually bound by the same concepts in their minds. Because, like, you think of it, it's like the really, like, the meathead strong character who's really stubborn and, like, wants to just help his friends. And then there's the fan service character who's always running around, very ditzy, always, like, making jokes or, like, being the butt of a joke. And then you have the other character, like the really smart friend who's always pushing up his glasses. He's always saying really intelligent things. And they always have, like, talking animals or goofy stuff going on. And they always do the switch between, like, the actual character art and then, like, the cutesy, like, chibi art.
But at the end, that's, like, not really a genre. That's more of, like, a method of storytelling within I'd say like a cultural way of telling things. Like I guess like the characters less so, but like in terms of like changing animation styles and stuff like that, like you could do that in Western cartoons. You could do that in like um, you know, to some extent in terms of like live action stuff. And I am I think that there's most likely tropes in like Western live action in terms of like what characters are like. Oops, sorry. Like trying to think of like a good example. I watch like most of my like live actions like superhero stuff, so usually have like the oh he's a super good guy to the point where he makes stupid mistakes because he's just super good and doesn't want to hurt anyone trope, i.e. Flash and Captain America and those kind of characters.
Yeah, and I feel like those stereotypes remain the same even throughout a lot of the different types of media that they exist in. And it's kind of interesting to see that, like, some of the Marvel things that we see a lot nowadays and like are either seen also in anime, or the expansion of those characters does sometimes involve like things from Western and Eastern shows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think like yeah, there's a lot. How can I put this? The West has been a lot more willing to embrace things that are Japanese in terms of like storytelling and stuff like that. Like I think, and this is an older example, but I think this is the one that a lot of people turn to is The Matrix was very heavily influenced by Ghost in the Shell.
Ah, that's interesting. I didn't know that because I haven't seen either.
Yeah, but you can definitely see that. If you've seen Ghost in the Shell, you can definitely see that they took a lot of really cool things from that series and expanded on them, or like took those concepts and like tried to establish them in like a Western story. And I think that's part of the really interesting things that we see as like far as how a lot of these different things exist in Western stories, but we just don't really notice them unless you've actually seen like the anime that led to them.
Yeah.
And I think actually we're gonna wrap this up for right now. People are getting home. It's about time for a commercial.
Do you like ice cream? No, really. I mean, do you really, really like ice cream? Do you like it so much that you would put on like 7 layers of clothes and go out in like 110-degree weather and just basically give yourself heat stroke just so you could enjoy the ice cream just a little bit more? Well, if you do, I got the show for you. Watch Kentaro, Kentucky, the Sweet Tooth Salaryman. You won't regret it. It's actually a really good show.
I really do find it very interesting, the overlap that you can see in many regards between East and West, or Japanese and American media nowadays, but it's still, very separate in many regards. Amchan, or Whimsy, I realize that you're a lot newer to anime, so I'm kind of curious about your thoughts in terms of anime and its predominance in culture. Like, did you see it as much when you were a littler human and things like that?
Whoa, okay, hold on. I was not prepared to like bounce off something like that. I just was gonna launch into my experiences.
Were you not prepared to think? Did you not have the skill for think casting during that time?
Well, okay, cause like everyone else got to just kind of like not have like a prompt and just kind of like talk about their experiences.
Just go. Yeah. You can just go. You can.
Okay, I might get back to that though.
Terrible podcast.
Oh my god, I'm sorry.
How dare you?
I dropped my phone.
You're dropping your phone? This is terrible. This episode's ruined. Throw it in the trash.
I'm sorry.
Stop screaming or peeking the mic.
Okay. Okay, you know what? We might just cut to because instead of saying "oh no, there was an awkward cut," we might just cut to you screaming, "This episode's ruined!" like that. That was actually okay. We'll decide that later.
Are you saying you're gonna cut out her part?
I don't know, because I didn't respond to it very well. Okay, you know what?
I think you should just keep all of this in.
Oh my god.
Yes.
So much anxiety.
Keep all of it in.
Okay. So anime as it relates to culture, and did I?
You don't have to answer. Just go into whatever you're going to say. Don't worry.
My brain is melted. Okay, guys. Okay. All right. I'm just gonna talk about what I was gonna talk about, and then if it relates back to that transition,
You're gonna ignore her point.
I'm so sorry, guys. Okay.
That was a really nice.
It
prompt.
was a really great prompt, but context,
How
guys.
in your experience?
Hold on.
How do you see the connection between things like Matrix, stemming
I've never
from
seen
Ghost
the
in
Matrix. I've never seen Ghost in the Shell.
No, but it's a direct reference, if not inspiration.
Okay.
So it has
After
your experience been anything you watch that was like, hey, I watched an anime, and it kind of took that idea.
I can talk about how things reference other things, but probably down the line after I've kind of talked about my general experience with anime. Also, some context for some people as to why this transition was so funky. This is actually a different day. We got interrupted. We had to. So this is a little bit messy, this part. But yes, okay, I'll go now.
Honey, you should talk about Harry Potter and the anime you were gonna talk about.
That voice sounds terrible. What are you doing?
Harry Potter, the anime.
Okay. Anyway,
Harry Potter is an anime. Maybe you should talk about that.
Oh God.
One of the books is a manga.
You know they are making a Harry Potter manga?
Oh no. Okay, alright, everybody. There's so much pressure now. Okay, hi guys, I'm Whimsy. You already know me because we've been talking for the first half of this podcast, but I guess I'll talk about my personal experiences with anime now. So I'm different than both Eddie and Aunt now, in the sense that you guys both grew up watching anime, but I'm actually somebody who got into anime as an adult. I had a few flirtations with anime, brushes with anime that could have served as gateways growing up, but just didn't. So to give you some examples of that, I did go through a period where I was trading Pokemon cards with friends, and I almost got into Pokemon, but then we moved, so that group of friends kind of was and then gone, and then that didn't blossom into anything. Aunt No and I had a mutual friend who got me into Love Hina, and I actually got very into Love Hina. I didn't read the entire manga series, but read a lot of it. Really, really enjoyed it. For some reason, though, that didn't get me into manga. I just eventually stopped reading Love Hina. That fizzled out. Never really went anywhere. And then the third sort of flirtation with anime or the world of anime was I did really like Avatar: The Last Airbender. I actually really, really loved it and still love it to this day, but it didn't get me to explore Japanese anime. So there were a few opportunities where I could have gotten an anime, but I just didn't, even though I had friends who were into it. It wasn't until I got into college and met this potato over here to my left, Eddie. I met him and we started dating, and he was in anime, and I was just I've thought about getting an anime for a long time. People have told me to give anime a try, so I really should just give it a try. And we'd had a few conversations, and I was kind of trying to decide what I wanted the first thing I watched to be. And so my true gateway, the thing that I then watched and got me into anime and the world of anime, was Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I watched that series, and it just completely, I loved it. I fell completely in love with FMAB, kind of became obsessed. Still it's one of my favorite series of all time. And I think it was just kind of the perfect storm when I watched it, because it just, I'm not making allegories that aren't there. I'm not making comparisons that aren't there between FMAB and real life. I'm not saying this was the author's intent or anything like that. I'm just saying personal. I made personal connections between things that I personally see and associate in the anime with some real life events that were going on at the time. It was around the 2016 election, and there was just a lot of thoughts I was having in my head about people, about the world, about just idealism versus like disillusionment with kind of the world around you. And I just saw a lot of that in the series. And because it was just like the perfect storm of what I got out of it, I just fell in love with that series and really wanted more. From there, Eddie introduced me to Angel Beats, which I liked. And then I just kept going and discovering new things. And I eventually had watched enough anime to where I was comfortable saying, yeah, I'm a weeb. I'm not a weeb who's seen everything. I'm not a weeb who's watched probably a lot of the childhood series that other people have. But I definitely do feel very comfortable now, like sort of with that title, with that like label, I guess. And I do consider myself somebody who is very into anime, like with my friends, and part of like the internet subculture, I guess, if that makes any sense. So yeah, and to relate it back to Atano's question of since I got into anime, have I seen like sort of connections between Western media and and anime? I would say that yes, but not actually anime specifically in my example. I started reading Astro Boy. I talked about this in episode 0 actually, and I do see a lot of influence between the Western cartoons and Astro Boy. You can tell that they were influenced by each other, or that the mangaka who drew and wrote Astro Boy was influenced by Walt Disney. So I'd say that's an example. And you brought up Harry Potter. I was like flabbergasted when I learned that Naruto was based on Harry Potter. I mean, it's not like surprising when you think about it. It was just kind of a weird mental like thing to be like, wait, Harry Potter inspired Naruto. Okay. So yes, yay, I related it back to what Atano said. Oh, and then the other thing when I talk about my anime journey is I will say that because I got into anime late, I don't necessarily like have a great mastery of the anime canon. It's more that I watch things that interest me. So I kind of have like very specific niches that I've delved into. I love Gundam, or what I've watched of Gundam so far, and I'm very invested in just like gradually over time getting more and more mecha under my belt because I just very much enjoy sci-fi and mecha. And then just in general, I like psychological thrillers. I loved Monster. And yeah, I kind of just watch what I enjoy, and then sometimes I'll watch things because I feel like they're important to the community, hence why I'm letting Eddie make me watch SAO. And hence why I also watch things with friends that friends recommend. And yeah, that's my anime babble. Yay, I did my turn. Are you happy now?
Yes.
I feel like this is very important for me to bring up since you said that you flirted with anime a couple of times. So it took you until you flirted with a human boy, like a 3D boy, to actually get into anime. So it took you could flirt. You flirted a bit with the 2D, but you needed 3D boy before you could make the complete transition.
I mean, I had dated people before college, but yes, I guess this particular 3D man was necessary to get me into anime.
And now she's in love with a 2D girl.
Wait, which one? Who's my waifu again? Do I have a waifu?
Yes, you do.
I feel like there's a joke here, but I'm just not reaching it.
Your brain is not present if you have forgotten your own waifu.
Asuna, obviously.
Oh no.
Yeah, Asuna. Obviously.
No. If we're
Asuna's
gonna
your favorite
if
waifu,
we're gonna
isn't
have no, if we're gonna have the SAO discussion, first of all, that's gonna be a whole other thing. I do not have an SAO waifu at all. I guess okay. I'm trying to think of a waifu. Most of my quote-quote waifus would be from, like, video games. Because there's a character in... Actually, you know what? I have a live-action waifu. I don't know if that's blasphemy against, like, God and anime.
Yes.
But I don't care. I have a live-action waifu. It is... Hey, why are you pulling the mic away? It is Piper Halliwell from Charmed. And actually, Charmed is an anime. You can't convince me otherwise.
No, Charmed is an anime.
Yeah, see?
I've seen
Even
it. It's an anime.
And Piper Halliwell is Best Girl. Other waifus, I very much in Final Fantasy XIV. Don't know if any of you play it. Probably. I very much like Serendipity from the Goldsmiths Guild. She is just adorable. And as for husbandos, I gotta think of a husbando now.
Is it House?
House?
House is your husbando.
Okay.
Actually, Wilson's also
no.
your husbando. Wait, is House... Is the reason you like House so much is because it's like an otome anime to you?
Oh my god. Why House? Yes, old man Hugh Laurie is my husband. No,
like
no offense to old men out there.
It's like an old man otome anime. Is that why you like watching House?
Okay, I think I need to clarify a few things. No, there's no one in House that is my husbando. I discuss how House has a harem of waifus.
He does not.
Yes, he does. There are people who fight for him. There, including Cameron, Cuddy, Wilson. Wilson is best girl. Yeah, you know what? Wilson is best girl.
Cameron hasn't been in the show for like an entire season.
It doesn't matter. Stop it. Stop. House is an anime. It has a tournament arc. Okay?
I know my lore. Cameron leaves him.
That doesn't.
Like that. This is the last season you watched, and for more of the show than she's not in love with House exists than she is.
We're gonna.
Like, what?
We're gonna talk about. Oh my goodness! I feel like I've already to this podcast brought up more live action shows than anime, while also calling
You're
myself.
bad weeb.
Yeah, exactly. While also calling myself the person who got into anime later in life, so I feel like I'm just gonna become like known as the person who the imposter weeb. But yeah,
like part of the issue is you're just very picky.
I am very picky. So I have watched a lot of series, but there's a lot of series I haven't watched, and yes, I can be very picky.
You can.
This is true.
I think you're just a hipster.
I wouldn't call myself a hipster.
You like Neon Genesis.
Okay, what part of that is hipster? That I do love Neon Genesis Evangelion, but that is one of the most popular series in anime. How is that hipster?
Because you like it for its thematic points, not its waifus.
Earn.
I don't... You know, are you trying to make the argument that no one watches anime for the plot? Are you being one of those right now?
Do you watch anime? Are you saying people watch this for the story?
Oh yes, interspecies reviewers had a lot of plot. Where has this ship gone?
What was the plot? Like cute boys doing cute things? Was that the plot?
Yes.
Yes.
It was a what's that term? Oh my goodness. It was a moe for. It was a reverse moe. Is that what we're gonna call it?
Are you saying that Neon Genesis was
no,
a moe anime?
Interspecies review. Never mind. We're discussing too many things.
Is that what you're saying? Wait, is that why you like Neon Genesis? It's also an old man otome anime.
Oh my goodness. What kind of lore are you trying to write about me? I feel.
Is that why you didn't like Shinji? It's because he wasn't an older man? It's about time for all of you weebs that hear a commercial. Have you ever flipped a light switch on in your kitchen, and out of the corner of your eye, you see a roach? You think, thank God that roach isn't the same height as me and has a sword. Watch Terraformers Today. I hope people interpret that you like Neon Genesis for old men.
What?
For older men, yeah.
Okay, so when we sat down to do this podcast today, guys, I did not expect Whimsy likes old men to become the meme. I don't know where that came from, but sure. I will say that there are some older men who can be attractive. Let's see, Robert Downey Jr. was very attractive in some movies when he was
Robert
like
Downey
in his.
Jr. is not an anime character.
I know. Oh, okay. I'm just trying to give credence to this idea you've pulled out of your butt.
Iron Man is an anime character. He has an anime. There's an anime with Iron Man.
I don't know.
Okay, but
where
that's
we've
Iron
gone.
Man. That's not Robert Downey Jr.
Okay.
But Robert Downey Jr. is now Iron Man. You really separate them from each other.
Yes, Robert Downey
Have you ever
Jr.
seen them in the same room at the same time?
I did. Do you remember that one time that he was in a room and he brought the Iron Man suit in remotely? and then he got
No.
in Iron Man's suit and flew away.
Dang it. I was like the worst hero to say that with, actually. He's got a fleet of robots.
Do you not remember that time that Iron Man broke into a building?
He's got plenty.
Yeah, where his Iron Man suit was locked up, so he brought it in remotely to save him. Exactly.
Okay, so you have a husbando of Robert Downey Jr.
Welcome to the A.N.I.M.E podcast, where many things get made up about each other.
I'll have you know that.
I'll have you know that this time it was me, but next time it's gonna be you two. I'm just gonna make stuff up. I'm gonna write lore. I'm gonna write
You
deep
like Robert Downey
lore.
Jr. That's not a lie.
I do, but how did this?
Stop screaming! You're peeking the mic.
Okay. I do like Robert Downey Jr. However, the way everything came up today was just completely nonsensical. It's amazing. I love it. I love every moment of it. I just can't wait though to get revenge and just write like really stupid
Fan fiction?
really write really stupid fan fiction about both of you. Just
Good.
just
Oh, God.
deep lore about A.N.I.M.E and Eddie.
I hope you know
can't wait.
If anyone who listens to this reads the comic books, they're really mad at you right now because Tony Stark is a scumbag in anything but the
What?
Marvel
How
Cinematic Universe.
How many corners are you gonna try to back me into? I can't keep up with this. No, you know there's a term for this. What is it? What's it called?
Really?
You're gishel glopping? No. What's that term? There's like a rhetoric. There's like a rhetoric term.
I'm gonna make.
Gish galloping. You're gish galloping me.
Are you sure that's what it's called?
Yes, it's called gish galloping.
That doesn't sound like a
No,
word.
no, it's a word. Look it up.
That doesn't sound like a
So
word.
do we
like-
call this the Gish Galloping episode?
Maybe we should. Yes,
Maybe we should call it Gish Galloping.
gish galloping.
So
The gish galloping.
Gish Galloping or Gish Galloping?
It's gish galloping.
That didn't help. Is it Gish Galloping or Gish Galloping?
We can call this episode the Gish Gallop, but it's Gish Galloping.
What about Gallop of Gish?
What? I bet. What's a Gish, and why does it gallop? I don't know what the term means. It just... Well, I know what it means. I don't know where it came from.
You're the one bringing it up.
I'm saying it's what you're doing to me. You're Gish galloping.
Then how do you know it-
You're overwhelming me with more jargon than I can respond to.
I'm saying I am. You made that up.
I did not.
You made
Look
that
it
up.
up after
You're
the...
peeking
Okay.
the
Well, actually, I think I did hear that term.
Yes.
I heard it in a political sphere recently.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure.
It was recently brought up over the last debate.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
it's a thing. It's like...
Well, that debate was also made up, so. Think it's about time for a commercial? Have you ever been watching the new episode of Boruto and you think, wow, this universe is so immersive. I wonder if Just sit up. Damn it. I can't do this. I can't do this
so
joke.
bad.
It's just so...
Here, I'll just say this because I could insert this anywhere into that thing. I feel gish gallop. I'm just gonna leave it at that. You've gish galloped me.
I have no idea. You could be making that up.
Maybe okay, but you deserve it.
Wait, are you doing it right now? Are you making something up
Oh, maybe I've turned
to
this
criticize
around.
me with?
You confuse me, so I confuse you. Is that what's happening?
But now you're making up words. I didn't make up a word.
Hey, Shakespeare made up words. You know what? Shakespeare is my husband.
I'm pretty sure Shakespeare was made up. So
there are discussions that he is different people. This is true.
no, he was made up.
However, I feel that as though some of those theories are grounded in this false idea that a poor person could write something good. So, I have faith that Shakespeare was a real person.
I don't know enough about the arguments to weigh in too much on that, but I do recall that I listened to a podcast where they kind of were like, nah, he did exist, but I forget what the arguments were that they landed on. I think basically they were like, you don't have really strong evidence that he doesn't exist, but I would have to go back to it.
People argue about this all the time. Some people think he was Francis Bacon. Some people think he was other people.
I think Francis Bacon's a bit too much of a fuddy-duddy to have written all the stuff Shakespeare did.
You know what though? What if Shakespeare, like in his plays, he was very raunchy and like.
That's what I mean.
But what if Shakespeare was a huge fuddy-duddy in real life and that was just his outlet?
I don't think that's how that worked at that time.
But I mean, you're right because theater was seen as very like underground and like edgy.
The only people who were gonna see it were people who like snuck into the theater.
That's not true. So the people who put on plays were like considered scoundrels and like you know the people on the edge of societies, but like people of class and renowned quote quote actually watched theater.
Yeah, I thought that Queen Elizabeth was a patron of William Shakespeare.
Yeah. It wasn't like frowned upon to view theater, but the people who put on theater were generally considered like not as socially
Scoundrels, you could say it.
Scoundrels. I'm not an expert, but like that's my general understanding.
So to bring this back to anime,
Are you saying that Shakespeare was not an anime character?
I mean,
well,
I will say that Shakespeare had some very strong influence on some anime stuff, and Japanese stuff in general. You have Romeo x Juliet. Did you see that show?
I did not. No.
Actually, a lot better than I was expecting. Mostly because I'm not a big fan of Romeo and Juliet in general. But like, yeah, like it influenced that anime. And then you have well, I forget the name of this director, but for live action, Japanese productions. There's a famous film by the guy that did Samurai 7 that is based on the story of Macbeth. So you have like a lot of different crossovers of a lot of Western stuff when it comes to anime.
Yay, we brought it back to your topic now. Woo! We know how to podcast!
Stop clapping so close to the mic.
I'm gonna break the mic. Sorry, that was probably bad.
I'm really close to my mic too, so if you have turned deaf while listening to this podcast, I suppose you won't hear this apology. There's an apology right here. So
right after we
have
ruined your eardrums, I'm sorry.
Yes.
If you can still hear, please give us a like, a subscribe, a download, whatever sort of medium you've listened to this on. If you have communed with the spirits and somehow gotten this podcast recording as a product of that interaction,
like a seance.
Please thank the spirits for us. That's really cool of them.
What if this whole podcast is just a seance? What if the three of us are just ghosts?
I mean, we need evidence to prove otherwise, so you know.
Is this a JoJo reference? Is that what you're...
Is it?
Is this a JoJo reference?
Is this a JoJo reference? I wouldn't know.
You haven't watched JoJo.
I
know!
Making
a JoJo reference?
Stop calling me out.
As far as, if you listen this far, also comment with constructive criticism would be much appreciated, because if you can't tell by now, we are doing things at the wall and hoping that it'll kind of look like it was intentional.
Exactly. Professionals. Yay. On that note, I actually think we should probably wrap up.
I think it's been really good. I would say, really like, good. In terms of things being thrown at a wall or stuck to a wall, I would say this is somewhere in between an unfortunate ketchup stain and that banana that was stuck to that modern art museum's wall and then was sold for like $15 million.
I would agree. This has been very fun. I will say the first half, like you guys, where you guys went and talked about your experiences, like that was very, very like eloquent, and then we ended for the day, and then we came back today and just lit a trash fire, and I gotta say I enjoyed both. I enjoyed both. This was a very experimental episode. I had a little bit of everything.
Do you think though that does speak to whenever possible for us to try to film in one day? Because that way we can keep whatever tone we end up going with pretty consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I would agree with that. But
also, the sound. Eddie, you said that the sound sounded pretty similar, but there's a good chance there's going to be some variations where people are going to be like, huh, it's better in the second half, or it's worse. I don't know which.
Actually, if the sound is different and one is better, please let us know in the comments below, because that would actually help.
Agreed.
I'm a budding sound person, and I cannot tell the difference between the two. That is probably really bad. So please tell me if in the first half of this recording it sounds better or worse than the second half. Thank you.
This episode,
all of it sounds like trash. Tell us that too, and tell us
Yes.
how we can make it better.
I gotta say out now, you asking for constructive criticism in the comments was brave.
Look, I just want to let you guys know. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Eddie.
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead, please. I interrupted
I was just
you.
gonna say, I wanna trust. I want to have hope.
Hope.
These
What a-
people watch anime.